if you could, Andreas, could you maybe just give us a little bit of your background? It doesn't necessarily have to be about Ariel, or if you want, it can, but just kind of your background and where you come from.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, you are right. We've been in the space for about 2 years now, mostly helping onboard people, brands, companies, collections into the space pre-merge. So we helped allay a lot of the environmental concerns that people had, and really help them take their first steps into Web3. Many of them would not have otherwise due to environmental uncertainties. And then Explorers is this natural evolution of work that we've done in the space. But I'll zoom out and give you guys like a little bit of background on myself and my team and what we really have set out to do. I'm Andreas. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Ariel. I co-founded the company about 3 years ago now with two people that I've worked really closely with. We all have backgrounds in the software in the tech world, having built products at Microsoft, Apple, Google, and startups like, I don't know if you guys have heard of Acompli or Sunrise, companies that were acquired by Microsoft, as well as Casper, Refinery29. So we've been in the business, in the software, in the tech world for about 10 years now. Mostly focused on building really great user experiences. So I helped build a company called Path, which was one of the private social networks that emerged from the Facebook alumni back in 2011, 2012. We scaled that to about 50 million users, and then we exited to KakaoTalk, which is basically WhatsApp in Korea. So really cut my teeth there, and then helped build another company on the partnership and growth side called Acompli, which was a venture-backed company that built an email calendar product. And we scaled that and eventually actually sold it to Microsoft. It's really one of the first mobile products mobile productivity apps to combine email, calendar, files, and search across all those things. So it was a really delightful experience. And we ended up rebranding it and relaunching it as Outlook Mobile at Microsoft. I was a director at Microsoft. I spent about 4.5 years there. And I actually met my co-founder, Ari, at Microsoft. He was a product designer at a company called Sunrise Calendar, which was the first 5-star beautiful calendar app for mobile and tablet. They were based out in New York, and they were acquired about 3 months after us. And I quickly noticed his work on the design side. I was like, wow, this guy is brilliant. And just a really nice person on top of it all. And so we became really good friends, and he left Microsoft to Instagram, and he was working on product design there. About 2 years in, I stayed and kept building my team, but we remained close friends and had been talking a lot about ideas that we wanted to pursue post our, startup acquisition lives. We really wanted to get back into the thick of things and really take our knowledge that we had and background into building some new things. So that's where the idea for Ariel came about. Was we started looking at all the travel that we had done over the past couple of years, and we realized that there was no way to get any insight into your carbon emissions, whatsoever. And so we brought on another partner, co-founder, an engineer who I've known for quite a long time. He studied at Berkeley and interned at Apple and Google in college, and then out of school he worked at Google and was really the first engineer to build out Casper and Refinery29, and he built his own agency and built products for like Skyrise and Zenith, Sephora, and a lot of other companies. Really design focused, amazing engineer, great person. And we teamed up. We were like, gosh, what could we do to rethink the way that people perceive, quantifying carbon, and what could a brand and an experience, how can we onboard more people into, climate, sustainability? We have this experience building products, that reach hundreds of millions of people, and these really fun, delightful brands that people interact with. Like, can we do that in climate? So we built our mobile apps, which you guys mentioned, which are on iOS and Android. It's pretty cool. You just sign up with like your Microsoft or your Gmail account, and within seconds you can see like your entire carbon footprint. And about 2 years ago, we started prototyping some stuff around crypto and NFTs, and it morphed into a web app that we launched with, of all people, Calvin Harris, right at the beginning of 2021. He said, "Hey, can you put some numbers on Ethereum and for an NFT drop?" And we said, "Yeah, we have like a methodology there, and we can definitely do something, and we can support some really cool projects." So we launched that, and immediately it got traction organically. Like, we didn't spend any money marketing. People got wind of this web app that we built at ariel.is/NFT, and we immediately like started bolstering the methodology and really trying to, again, like in the same way that we've always thought about onboarding people into climate. We saw that there was a big barrier for people to build stuff in Web3 because of environmental FUD. And so the best way to combat FUD is to put numbers, knowledge, and data behind those, overarching concepts, and to get more granular. So instead of just saying NFTs are bad, they're bad for the environment, right? Like, what does that even mean? It's a pretty broad statement, especially in an environment where, you have these alternative blockchains that exist that, at the time were not proof of work, but it became this overarching theme. So we said, why don't we try to put some numbers to this and actually give way. It won't be a perfect solution until, the merge, but we can give people a way to wrap their head around this and take some action now. And instead of sitting on the sidelines and waiting for the merge or, another event of that scale to hit in a year or two, really help people and brands and celebrities get into Web3. So we worked with Calvin Harris, Shakira, Pepsi, Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser. We worked with Deadfellas. We worked with Moonbirds, Proof Collective, Levi's, Etihad Airways. Pretty wide range of partners. And in true Web3 fashion, it was organic. We didn't spend a single penny on marketing. It was just all community, word of mouth driven, which got us really fired up about the space. We're like, wow, people, are really passionate about, creating these new experiences in Web3, and there's so many problems to solve, really interesting problems. Like, of course, getting people beyond that point of environmental FUD to build is one thing, but then these bigger themes around like onboarding the next generation of internet users into Web3. That's where we started to get really curious about, this is one thing, but can we take everything we've learned and all the experience we have and, do something on chain once the merge happens? And what does that look like? So that's how Ariel Explorers was born. We've been working on it for about a year now. But it really was this moment where we realized, gosh, like there are a lot more problems to solve, and some really interesting, things that I think could lend themselves to some of our experience in building products that are really easy to use and that onboard people, and building brands that are really friendly and relatable. So yeah, that's an intro on myself, my co-founders, and some of the products that we built, and I just lightly touched on explorers because that's what we'll really dive into here, but wanted to give you guys some background on what we've been up to.
Yeah, perfect. Great job. Appreciate the context. Those were some, impressive names. Sounds like impressive cast of characters you got over there on your team and people that you've partnered with. I am curious, though. There's a lot to unpack and everything that you said, but one of the questions that came to me was, what made you guys focus on carbon emissions? Because it sounds like you're a bit of a serial builder and a very good one at that. So is this like a passion project for you and something you've always thought about and cared about, or did you just identify a market need for it? Like what made you guys focus and like triple down on the climate action stuff?
Yeah, I think obviously one of the biggest problems facing us, right, is to better understand this issue. And I think our philosophy has always just been like, put numbers. We don't really take a position, if you notice, like on our Twitter, on our website, on our products, like we don't actually take a position one way or another. We just give people information and data, and you can do whatever you want with it. We don't tell you what to do, what not to do, make you feel bad, make you feel guilty. We're just like, information is powerful enough. There isn't much of it out there on these types of things. So how can we give you that information and you can do whatever you want with it, whether you're an individual or a business. And so I think like that stance is what really inspired us to go down this route. Was like, wow, there really isn't a lot of information out there. If you're looking to, figure out what carbon impact is for whether it's a flight or an NFT or crypto. And so I think, you look at the Fortune 500, the Fortune 1000, and right, every single company has some type of commitment to reaching like net zero or climate positivity or however they describe it. And there really aren't enough tools that exist to get there. And so I think, I've looked at every single enterprise offering, like what Microsoft's doing, Salesforce is doing, some of the well-funded startups. And the reality is like, they're mostly built for these like big amorphous sustainability teams and rarely ever touch the end user, aka the employees of a company, or you and me as individuals. And so I think like just seeing how big of a gap that was, inspired us to, in the same way we brought Outlook Mobile to 250 million users through beautiful design. And obviously we leverage Microsoft's distribution power, but the product's good, right? It's like, is there a way we can do that for climate? And so I think like just the scale of the problem is what inspired us. And, a lot of things come with that. If you are solving a problem that's interesting and you have the right team to do it, you start to learn a lot, and you can raise venture capital to help you do R&D and really explore like what the opportunities are. So I think, it is a really big opportunity. It's a daunting but inspiring one. And I think all of us were like, gosh, like we have these skills and this background. Building productivity apps is cool, but what's next? How can we have more impact, right?
That's really cool, and that's a great shout too, because everyone vocally saying, oh, we're gonna change, we're gonna do better, but like, how do you actually quantify that? I feel like I have a responsibility to do right by the environment, at least as an individual, but the lack of accountability has probably been keeping me from ever really letting it sink in just how bad my personal emissions are. So that's really clever, man. That's a good little app you got there, because I just threw my my wallet through it, and it gave me a very large number, very concerning number. I know you said, your stance is neutral, not to make me feel bad. I felt bad. I'll just leave it at that.
Good news is, look, we all banded together in a really dope way and accelerated the merge. I mean, that the date was pretty random and ambiguous for the longest time. It was like 6 more months and 1 more year, but people were like, hey, look, this is probably something that should be fixed, and people cared about it, and it happened, right? So
there we go. Yeah, we funded the acceleration of the urgency. There we go.
Exactly, and it happened.
It did. Yeah. Let's talk about the merge for a bit, because that was the next question I had, was how does that sort of impact your, I guess, NFT arm, because it's not going to impact your normal, day to day. It's probably tracking, if you're in your car or if you're, taking an airplane trip or whatever. But how does the merge affect your sort of NFT focus on everything, since our emissions were cut so drastically?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so. We've always, and we still have, our mobile app. We have on iOS and Android. We have a web app that we're releasing, which is essentially a similar version of our mobile app, but mostly geared toward businesses. So you don't have to actually download the app. You can just experience Ariel in the web browser with dashboards and stuff. So we do have some pretty cool stuff that we've been investing in on that side. And I think we were all surprised at how much Ariel as a brand resonated in Web3. If you go to our website, Ariel, AERIAL.is, you'll see these beautiful animations and these animated clouds and beautiful color gradients that you wouldn't normally see on a sustainability or climate website. But normally you see photos of trees and green color palettes and just those tired cliches. But it coincidentally just really resonated with people in Web3. And, as we talked to early on, some founders of, some of the biggest platforms in the world, are like, wow, this really feels native to the space. And so we continue to build out both aspects of the business. But I think, our first little press release that we did with, for Calvin Harris, we mentioned the merge, and we mentioned that this will be solved by technology, and this is just a temporary solution. So we've known since the first day that we even worked with Calvin 2 years ago that this would be temporary, and that technology would solve this problem. So we faced sort of a fork in the road, to your point, at the beginning of this year when we huddled as a team, and we were like, wow, we have these other products. We've made some really cool strides in Web3, working with Proof and Moonbirds and Deadfellows and Heart Project and Calvin Harris, Pepsi, all these brands, people. And, we had a pretty good sense that the merge is going to happen this year. We had a hunch just based off of our conversations with some of the core developers, and we're like, what do we want to do? Do we want to go all in on the other side of our business, which is our mobile apps, our web apps, working with consumers and companies on that front, or do we want to also keep building in Web3? And so we huddled, we talked about it, we reached out to a bunch of people that we had collaborated with, platforms, other creators, and for the most part, everyone really wanted us to make another bet and keep building in the space. Gosh, you built these really cool experiences. They're really easy to use. The brand is really friendly. It'd be a shame if you guys just stopped. And so, yeah, after a lot of consideration, we're like, okay, well, there are a lot of cool problems to solve in Web3, and there will have to be more onboards into the space. There will have to be, more brands. There will have to be, technologists building technology to really take things to the next level. What can we bring to the table? And so we quickly started to realize, gosh, we have these beautiful animations and gradients and these animated clouds, and they're just begging for these on-chain 3D heroes to come to life. And the world is already there. We've already been creating it. If you go to our website, you'll see. And that's how Explorers was born. We're like, what if these on-chain 3D heroes essentially spawned out of this world that we've already been creating, and that already resonates with a lot of people in this space? So astronauts, divers, surfers, skiers, snowboarders, climbers, and the idea being not to, focus too much on being a climate NFT or a carbon offset NFT. We've all seen that. We've all seen, hastily planted trees or shitty carbon offsets tied to some NFT drop. But to really actually own in on the themes of adventure, exploration, and really develop out this world that we've already been building. If you look at like our website and the animations and branding on there. So yeah, that to answer your question, I know it's a long answer, but we were faced with that point where we're like, gosh, like, we really do think we can, continue to build great experiences for Web3, and great technology, and onboarding this next generation of users. So
oh yeah, great, yeah, fantastic answer. I figured it had to either be an oh shit moment or something that you guys were prepared for. I'm glad it was the latter. I guess let's go ahead and just kind of move on into Explorers. Let us know kind of what Aerial Explorers is. You kind of hinted that there are more problems to solve, right? There's no shortage of problems. So, what problem can we solve with Aerial Explorers?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I think there is definitely a lot, like in terms of onboarding and really really cool brands that people like and that want to associate with. Like there is a lot of opportunity there, and we're very design and experience focused. So if you look at like our website, our mobile apps, etc., our web apps, you'll notice like we take a lot of pride in making sure that whatever we build is super easy to use. And so for Explorers, everything that we've designed, like we have like this really cool minting website that we built that's not out yet, but it's actually like WebGL Unity. So you can actually, just as a teaser, there's some cool like interactions on it. But, beyond that, what if someone goes to our minting site and they are not as familiar with minting an NFT, or they want to pay with credit card, right? So, making it really easy for people to understand like what we're doing, obviously, but also to get involved, whether it's through MoonPay or Paper XYZ. Those are like the two companies we're working with right now, to make it really easy for people to onboard. And so I think, yeah, when it comes to, like you mentioned, problems to solve, I think onboarding is a big one. And then there are just so many opportunities on the tech side. And one of the cool things about some of our favorite projects is like they're constantly innovating, and building things that aren't just valuable to them, but are valuable to the wider Web3 space. And so just to give you guys a sense of some of the things that we're working on the tech side. So we Explorers have these generative and random trades, but what we're working on right now with Chainlink, who's a partner of ours, is these externally driven trades, and treating your NFT as a living thing that exists among other things in your wallet. So imagine if you personified your wallet and you thought about your moonbirds, your apes, your Azukis, like whatever you have in your wallet, and they're living things. They coexist with other tokens in your wallet, and your Explorer essentially evolves depending on what it coexists with. And the reason why that's really interesting is because we have worked with a lot of these big collections, and they have offset their team wallets. So there are some really cool touch points there where it's like, okay, what if you started to like think about your wallet as like this living thing, this garden of birds and apes, and depending on what they coexist with, they can be, they can essentially like supercharge another token in your wallet. So I think there's some really cool ways to, onboard more people into the space, build tech that's like, valuable to your respective collection, but also to other collections in the space. And one of the big themes around what I just described with some of the work that we've been doing with Chainlink is like, how do you provide mutual value to collections? Like people always talk about this, and not just everyone's tired of like the whitelist launch, right? And the answer is, well, what if you build things that are actually directly beneficial to other collections? So let's just say in this example, like you actually would have to hold one of these other tokens in order to have that externally driven trait. You can't get rid of it and get it. So I think there are just so many cool problems and things to solve on the tech side, on the onboarding side. And so those are just a couple of things that I want to dive in on, but probably got a little too
no,
in the weeds there.
You're all good, man. We love it. So it sounds like it's a dynamic NFT, based on collaborations or other projects that you guys have. It's going to change the traits on your Explorer, right?
Yeah. So that's the goal, and we're figuring out how we can make that the highest quality experience right now, and making it so that it's scalable, and it's scalable. It actually works. It's as decentralized as possible, and maybe there are other collections that can be inspired by this and end up implementing something similar, which is also really cool. Like one of our, you see ERC 721A, you see Proof of Skate, you see Creative Commons by Moonbirds, that whether or not you agree with that, right? But you see all these different ways that collections are innovating, and oftentimes they not only use these innovations themselves, but they are open in how they discuss it with other people in the community, and so essentially like open source it, right? So I think like from a technology standpoint, there's so much that can be done there, and if anything, like there need to be more people who are technologists and who are really thinking about this, like from a tech standpoint, like what tech are we building? It's really cool to build a brand, it's cool to have IP, it's cool to license it, that's all great, but we all know that at the core, these are all built on technologies.
Absolutely. I was going to say I agree 100%. I think probably everyone here in the audience and listening later agrees with you as well. We're big fans of like novel contract mechanics and like functionality and stuff. Like we nerd out on that shit. So like I'm curious, would this be on chain, or is this just happening off chain and the metadata sort of updates?
Yeah, so that's where we're working through some of these like intricacies right now. So like Chainlink, for example, they have like these node operators, right? And you can essentially have like a live data feed from a source that feeds into that node and affects like your smart contract and the traits. So for example, like we have whenever you like offset your wallet, that on our website, that logs, wallet offset equals true, for example. And so imagine you, if that's like a big collection, for example, you can actually, affect the traits of your Explorer. So let's just, from the standpoint of, let's just say you own one of those NFTs that we've partnered with, and you also own an Explorer. Your Explorer is effectively like this living thing that is happier because that other collection took this action either in the past or recently, and there's more oxygen, there's more vitality in your wallet, in this like living thing.
Very cool.
Yeah, so there are some like technical intricacies there around like truly like how decentralized you can make it, just because some of this data does come from more centralized sources, which is, one of the big challenges, because it has to come from somewhere, and oftentimes it's not generated on chain. But yeah, these are just like some of the really cool problems. Like I'm talking to our developer today on our team who he did all the Web3 dev work for Moonbirds, Admit One by G Money, bunch of other stuff, and guy is brilliant. Coincidentally, I've also known him for 10 years. We kind of came up together in the tech world about 10, 12 years ago. And yeah, he happened to do all the blockchain work for them. And he's really interested in like some of these bigger problems, and how to innovate. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm talking to him right after this. So we're walking through a bunch of these intricacies and kind of these decisions that we want to make.
Fun problems to solve, man. You got the best job in the world. Let's if we could, let's talk a bit. So is this going to be a PFP? It sounds like there is potentially like an exploration element, but like at the end of the day, is it going to look like a PFP, the Explorer?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a 7K Explorers, and I mentioned there are a bunch of different types of Explorers. There are astronaut surfers, divers, scuba divers, free divers, mountain bikers, skiers, snowboarders. So we have about 9-10 different types of Explorers and around 7K total. And yeah, there is an exploration aspect. So we have some really cool people that are in our community that we've already done cool stuff with that will be involved in Explorers. We have right now a really well-known nature photographer who actually he does like expeditions to document the northern lights. We have a free diver who free dives with sharks, not just any sharks, but like oceanic white tips and great whites. We have another person in our community who's actually a female astronaut who's been to space dozens of times. So we have these esteemed explorers, and the idea really is like, how can we inspire adventure and exploration, and bring like-minded people together, and really IRL and virtually inspire people to explore and adventure. And the NFT is just a conduit to that community and some of the things that we're working on. But the explorers want to do some pretty awesome token gated things with the community. So more there soon. But there's some really cool opportunities to push the boundaries of what it means to explore and adventure.
Gotcha. Excuse me. Sorry. Gotcha. So sounds like unlocking some IRL adventures and explorations for holders is a perk of holding.
Right.
Potentially, allegedly.
Right. Exactly.
Gotcha.
So yeah, for example, I'm discussing right now, what those things will be exactly. But there are some very amazing people and brands that really want to be involved in explorers, and will be involved in adventure and exploration is a huge theme there. I think one of the things that we're trying to balance is providing value to people virtually as well, so through the tech that we're talking about. That way anyone who's a holder can benefit. I think one of the challenges with some of the IRL stuff is while it is really, really cool and really fun, not everyone could participate in it. So I think we're trying to do both.
Okay, question for you. How do the explorers tie into the overarching goal of carbon emissions, or are they separate? Is this not really tied to like Ariel in that way, or is there some sort of utility or aspect that's going to potentially separate me from some guilt dollars because I'm feeling some type of way?
Yeah, no, it is actually it is a big part of explorers. So the way I've been thinking about it is, really haven't wanted to lead with the sustainability elements of explorers per se. It's like icing on the cake. And one of the brands that has inspired us there is Patagonia. There's the way that they create really great products that people love. And they also have like a really dope narrative around exploration and adventure, and they give back. But at the core, people like Patagonia and they buy their products because they're really good. And so I think that's one of the big things we've been thinking about is like, obviously having a carbon removal component is important for us. And we do have one. So based on the traits of your Explorer, you'll permanently remove carbon from the atmosphere. So if you have an ocean-based explorer, like a free diver, a scuba diver, or a surfer, we have some amazing projects that preserve precious marine ecosystems, plant mangrove trees, restore kelp forests. We have some land-based projects that are really innovative. That one of our partners, they bioengineer trees to grow faster and be more drought resistant. So we have some really innovative partners there, and so every explorer will remove carbon from the atmosphere based on their traits, which is amazing and it's really cool. But
that is really cool. That's what I was waiting for, like the tie-in. That's fucking awesome. I have more questions there, and if you can't answer them yet, or if you don't want to, that's fine. But like countering the emissions, is that something that happens based on the mint price, like the person who minted it, or is that something that is ongoing, or how do they remove carbon?
Yeah, so every explorer at mint will remove carbon, and then through secondary sales as well. So they'll be perpetually, climate positive.
Gotcha, because you guys are using a portion of mint and secondary funds to fund these projects and initiatives that are actually doing the physical work.
Right, exactly.
But gotcha. That's awesome, man. That's beautiful. That's I understand what you mean when you say you don't want to like lead on that foot, because it's not it's not sexy or exciting, but like it is important, and I think that's really cool that that's a part of the project, even if it's not what you're screaming from the mountaintops in order to get people in the door.
Yeah, exactly. I think like there have been too many companies, not just in Web3, but just in general, who have, sort of just banked entirely on altruism. And the reality is like you can't really scale that way, because there's just a finite number of people who will buy something or will engage with something purely because it's altruistic and because it's good for the world. And that's why Patagonia is so interesting, right? Like they do all that really cool stuff. They give back. They push a really positive narrative around exploration, adventure, preservation. But it's like their products are good, right? Like lifetime warranty. Some people think they're ugly, but like they're high quality, and generally people like them. But yeah, I think leading with like your product and quality is really important.
Hell yeah, I agree. I think your track record speaks for itself, man. It sounds like you know a thing or two about how to launch and how to roll things out. So that's pretty sweet. And then you guys are also doing the the Web3 onboarding. So it seems like you must have a vast knowledge of the space, which I think a lot of people are missing when they come in, which you probably know better than most. Is they start on the wrong foot or they fumble the bag, and then there's sometimes no recovery. So how did you guys get into Web3, like advising and onboarding? Were you guys just like early to the space, or did you bring some people on the team that are really connected, or how did you guys kind of lean in that direction?
Insert line about how I've been in trading Bitcoin since 2011. No, I'm kidding. I feel like everyone starts with that, right?
The year's getting earlier and earlier lately.
Yeah, exactly. I've been into crypto since 2011. No, I've been in tech for about 11 years now. So I moved to Silicon Valley right out of college and just dove in head first. And what's really funny is actually the first company I worked for offered to reimburse all expenses in Bitcoin, believe it or not. Which is
what a L they took. Wow.
But it's funny because it was like late 2011, early 2012. And it was just like this experimental thing because, our co-founders were just like they're technologists. They're curious, right? The two guys who founded it, one was one of the first people at Facebook, and then the other guy he co-founded Napster. So they, had been at the forefront of technology for now 25 years, right? So anyway, it was just really funny. But that was actually the first time I got exposed to crypto. Was we had an option to reimburse expenses, and I tried it, and I sold my Bitcoin pretty early back then. I just had a tiny bit from expense reimbursement, but a lot of people in my orbit were laying the foundation for some of the greatest companies in the space. One of my best friends, who was another early Facebooker, like he was one of the first seed investors in Coinbase. And he was just spreading the gospel, like this is going to be, the next great tech movement. And, a lot of people in our circles were like, okay, that's interesting. Like you're kind of trained in Silicon Valley to like not discount ideas, even if they're crazy, because that's just a sign of, becoming curmudgeon-y and irrelevant. So everyone was like, watching and waiting. But yeah, we all were trading crypto. We signed up for Coinbase accounts because our friend invested in it and said, hey, you have to try this. You have to buy some Bitcoin. You have to buy some Ethereum. So yeah, we were all, me and my co-founders, this applies to all of us. We were in the orbit of people building these companies, trading crypto really early on. And so we've just been around it for a long time. And around 2020, my two co-founders, Ari and Ebby, they started playing around with Foundation. They were like, gosh, this is really good, because I'm being a designer, and Ebby is also, he won a bunch of awards for like his photography work. They were like, God, they were trying to get invites to Foundation. They wanted to mint some of their work as NFTs. So they did. They, were able to start playing around with it. And that's where we all really started to dive in, was in 2020, in the Web3 and the NFT space, was actually through Foundation. We saw that photographers and designers were minting some of their work and getting exposure for it. It wasn't about the money, it was about the exposure. And in Foundation at the time, like you had to know someone, or you had to be recommended to get in and put some of your work up there. And so, yeah, that was really the first time. And they were telling me that this is really cool. Check this out. I minted one of my my pieces of photography on Foundation. This is really cool. So I started playing around with it. Other co-founders started playing around with it more and more. And then 4 or 5 months later, we had built our first web app for, essentially putting numbers to this, to these topics that we've been talking about around carbon. So yeah, long-winded answer, but being like technologists, we've just been around people building in the space for a very long time. And specific to Web3, 2020 was really sort of the real eye-opener in terms of where this could go creatively and as an industry.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think 2020 is probably, the earliest that most of us got into NFTs. Not lucky enough to be one of those that like minted punks or anything like that. But yeah, it's kind of where everything blew up. Well, that's sweet, man. Well, if you could, I know we're coming up here. We started a little late, but we're coming up here towards the top of the hour. Quick reminder, because I don't know if I said it. I mean, most people know the drill, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop those in office hours chat, and we'll ask those real quick. But I just wanted to kind of circle back and just kind of zoom out a little bit and just see if there's anything that we either brushed over or that we didn't get a chance to talk about today in relation to either Ariel or the Explorers, either way. But just kind of want to kick it back to you and just see if there's anything that, maybe we want to expand on or that we didn't get a chance to talk about. If not, it's all good. Yeah, it's been a very thorough, you've pretty much answered every question that I had. So yeah, very, very thorough job there. I guess let us know Mint details, like what we should be looking out for, if how we can get involved. Is it going to be a whitelist? Should we go ahead and join your Discord now, or what should we expect for the launch of Explorers here?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we're primarily we're focused pretty heavily right now on Twitter. And I think, I don't know if I can share. Can I share a chat in? Oh, cool. Hold on. Office hours VC. All right, that might not be the best chat. Some people might not know what I'm posting. But if you go to our Aerial Explorers on Twitter, you can see like all of our latest updates. We launched it about 3.5 weeks ago. And we've been, showing some of our creative, some of our vision, and so I think that's definitely the best way to follow what we're doing right now. And we will be launching our Discord. We just are focused on Twitter a bit because I'm sure as you guys know, it's hard to do a lot of things all at once, but also you don't want to launch your Discord too early. It has to be a good time to get your community on board. So keep an eye out. We will absolutely have a Discord. We will be launching it. And in terms of Mint, we're targeting the end of this year or very early next year, January. So December, January is the timing for Mint. And yeah, if you follow our Twitter account, you'll get all the latest information.
Awesome. Sounds great. I just went ahead and dropped a follow for you on Twitter there. We'll keep our eyes peeled. Andreas, thank you for taking the time today to come in and talk to us, walk us through the project. We really appreciate it. I'm excited, man. I think you've got an astounding track record. So I think that whatever you're building, there's definitely some merit, and I think that you'll find the path to success, man. So good luck in the Mint and all of that, and all your future endeavors. And thank you again.
Thanks. Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that is I think another big theme that we have to keep reminding ourselves of is just around at the end of the day you are building a community. And it is important to also see what people in your community want from what you're building. And so I think like having a vision and having conviction on certain areas and themes is really important. But I think the community should have a role in the direction that you go in and the direction that you build. So I think it'll be really cool, to your point, right, to iterate and learn and really take things in the best direction for everyone. So it's super exciting.
Absolutely, man. Community is everything. I mean, we're community first here. Pretty much the whole roadmap is just shit that our community tells us to do, right? It's like, if you guys want it, we'll make it happen, right? So that's the longevity of it. A lot of projects that are dropping, especially now in this market, are just super short-sighted, and all of their decisions are based around, will we mint out, or is our floor going to sustain before we can sell out or whatever. But I think we're seeing a lot of these projects kind of disappear because they weren't really built for the long haul. So yeah, man, absolutely. It's all about the community and making sure that everybody's taken care of. So sounds like you guys are approaching it with that in mind. So appreciate the thoughtful approach, and think you're going to do great.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and excited to continue working with you guys. You guys are awesome. We love working with MVHQ. So.
Hey, we appreciate that. We love hearing that. But yeah, man, thanks again to you for taking the time, and good luck with everything. We'll be keeping an eye out.
All right. Talk soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night, y'all.
You too.